The following program is about real stories with real people. The names and dates have not been changed, and whenever possible, the actual people, family members, and police officials have participated in recreating the events. What you are about to see is 100% real.
In the late-night hours of December 7th, 1995, Officer Gregory Mahoney, a rookie cop new to the force, discovered the corpse of Kevin Michaelis, a pizza delivery boy for the beloved Nicky's Pizza, face down in the freezing snow. I once left a guy face down in the freezing snow myself. See, before my life was turned around by my hot wife, I used to cause my own mysteries. For instance, this one time, loaf of bread head, Mitch Crabtree, challenged me to split a 2-liter bottle of McCormick's to celebrate his 1-year chip. I guess I won, because I left him passed out, freezing and lifeless on the side of the road. The next morning, he accused me of being a bad friend, so I beat him within an inch of his life. Kevin Michaelis, however, was beaten past that last inch. And without Kevin to wake up and tell the tale of his attack, Officer Mahoney was left with no leads, motives, or suspects, and felt he was left with no options. That is, until he tuned in to an episode of Paradox Sex, where he first laid eyes on a peculiar man with an unusual power. California native Ben Renoir had been struck by lightning in his own home. However, he not only survived the freak accident, but also claimed to be graced by psychic powers.
You know, I'd heard about psychics before and how they could sometimes pick up clues about the past, but I was willing to try anything at that point, you know, even if it was off the beaten path, so I called Ben.
As luck would have it, Ben Renoir and his wife had recently moved to the neighboring town of West Wayne. Renoir had made the move to start a small business predicting the future within the gaming industry.
Yes, I thought it'd be that kind of night. I can be there in 13 minutes.
It was his insight into the past, however, that Officer Mahoney was calling upon.
Well, then you time me. When Officer Mahoney called me, I realized they did not have a lot of leads. And this made my job a lot easier, because even if I did very little, it would still help them immensely. I saw the pizza boy driving on a desolate stretch of road. The radio played jazz, some kind of jazz. I'm not a jazz aficionado, but it was probably was jazz.
Hey, what's that?
He pulls over when he sees a pickup truck with engine trouble.
Hey, is your truck all right, man?
The motorist
You need a jumper?
turns on him angrily,
Hey, what are you doing?
pulls Kevin out of the car, and proceeds to smother him with piping hot, delicious Nicky's Pizza.
I was skeptical of his powers. You know, after his vision of a pickup truck was confirmed to the lab, I felt he was one for one, worth continuing with.
I leveraged Mahoney's trust to ask for 2 things. 1, complete access to the police repeat offender database. 2, I had to get my hands on that crime pizza. I'd heard it was from Nicky's Pizzeria, which is held in the highest regards, and that was interesting to me.
Adam Katniss.
Renoir felt
Daniels,
by eating the rotten,
Thor
undelivered
Rothschild,
pizzas collected as
Joe
evidence
Connell,
from the murder several
Mitch
weeks
Maroney,
prior, he would gain more insight into the killer's motives and identity.
Morris James Wick.
It seemed to have worked
Harris,
immediately.
Slade Thomas, Robert Santini.
Stop! That is the man.
Officer Mahoney had known Robert Santini as an unsavory character in town, as well as having the reputation of a bozo, a yo-yo, a banana brain, and a turkey. Regardless, the 2 men deemed it necessary to meet Santini face to face.
When I saw Santini, my stomach began twisting into knots, as if the very depths of my soul were a raging tempest. These vibrations told me that this man had done something terrible.
You mind answering a few questions from Ben here?
Yeah, sure. Santini. Robbie Santini.
Ben Renoir, psychic investigator.
Yeah, well, Daddy-O, you got my hands all full of grease.
That was my pizza. Nikki's Pizza. Do you like Nikki's Pizza, Robbie?
Yeah, sure, it's okay.
No, I assure you it is more than okay, Daddy-O.
As pressure was mounting to solve the case and make arrests, it was leaked to the press that Robert Santini was the prime suspect. And thanks to Ben's strong conviction, as well as Santini's long history as a four-flusher, a cherryhead, and a dickhead, it wasn't long before an unruly mob formed outside of Santini's shack. We here at Paradox Sex believe in the scales of justice and typically don't condone mob rule. However, Santini's life was so marginal, it seems to matter very little in this case.
Things were not right. I started getting horrible negative vibrations. And within a few hours, I received another premonition of a Nikki's Pizza bathed in blood. The vision I had was one of the most vivid I'd ever seen.
Well, Daddy-O, you got my hands all full of grease.
Far more than any past investigations.
You got my hands all full of grease.
After a few days, Santini couldn't take it anymore. But instead of turning himself in, he ended up committing suicide. I didn't expect that.
I then realized it was the pizza that had done this to me. The pizza given to me by Officer Mahoney.
Before the break, we detailed how the case caused Robert Santini to commit suicide. That news made headlines, and Officer Mahoney's faith in Ben's psychic powers made it appear that he was an investigative genius.
The psychic's conviction coupled with Santini's suicide made me pretty confident we had our man. I mean, it's not 100% like they teach in the academy, but at that point, I believe we still got there.
I saw Santini's suicide was in the newspaper. It got me thinking quite a bit. The newspaper was an ally, a friend to the psychic community, because we're so similar. Both give information based on what we feel to be true.
Crippled wife, take a letter.
So I immediately began drafting an article demanding a full and public apology from the police for their negligence in giving me that pizza. First thing I did was enlist the help of my poor beloved wife, who had much experience fighting unjust causes back in the 60s. Then I marched down to the local campus of our community college here in West Wayne and stapled a flyer to the intern kiosk in the Career Center. I hired a young intern named Gabe, and soon my crusade was on its way.
And I just kind of have been doing all sorts of different research, just trying to get as much as I can out of.
You know what? Actually, I need to concentrate on this, so we're not going to be able to talk. I'm sorry.
Sure.
I'm not sure if the police department is financially responsible for Mr. Renoir's sickness. I do think that they could give an apology at the very least. I mean, it's not that difficult. Mr. Renoir puts in a lot of time writing the letters, getting stamps, getting all the materials. I think it's the least they could do.
Gabe is a very spiteful person. When Ben was fully recovered, he and I both craved Nikki's Pizza. Now, I love extra cheese, Ben loves pepperoni, so we always ordered 2 separate pies. What did Gabe do? Gabe ordered 2 pies, all right, but each one was half pepperoni and half extra cheese. I mean, Nikki's was consummate professional. They took that stupid order, they delivered it quickly. The pizzas were great, but we were very embarrassed.
Then, a bizarre twist of events. In another town 50 miles away, Todd Browning, a man known for his creative tattoo work and a penchant for comical yet insightful t-shirts, was arrested for the murder of 23 men and women from across the state. Incredibly, Todd Browning confessed to the murder of Kevin Michaelis.
Well, it was a rainy day outside. I was having some personal issues. I hadn't eaten all day. And on top of that, my car broke down, so it was in a bad situation. Then all of a sudden, I saw, Nikki's pizza truck pass by. I guess that guy Kevin. And I was starving. I love Nikki's Pizza, so I was thinking this is my lucky day. But once I got there, something changed. For some reason, I wasn't hungry anymore. Something about seeing him just threw me into a violent rage. And then I decided to kill him.
Everyone just turned on a dime. I was a laughingstock. People called me Baloney Mahoney.
Hey, look, it's Mahoney. Baloney Mahoney.
Now that I was unemployed, I couldn't keep up with my house payments, so I had to sell that. Ironically, the only affordable place on the market was Robert Santini's shack. Once I got there, there was a stray cat there. Saw that as a good omen.
Well, getting an apology is as easy as investigating a murder. It just takes patience. If you sit back and wait long enough, the real murderer will reveal himself, just as the true villain will apologize.
Do psychics see more than the average eye? Will Ben get an apology from former Officer Mahoney? It doesn't take a psychic to solve that mystery. The answer is no. Because soon after the filming of this segment, Mahoney was found in his new shack, hanging from his neck, dead by way of suicide.
Hope she was lying.